Have you ever had one of those days where you thought it was going to turn out well, and by the time everything ended, you're like, I can't take one more kick. I can't take one more blow to my heart. I cannot take one more experience happening that's stealing. And what it's stealing, it feels like is my destiny. Yeah, that's what I had happen yesterday. So I'm going to share with you the steps that I went through in the last, 12 to 16 hours to put me back into a place where my purpose is not dependent on the people, places, and things around me. And it's certainly not dependent upon a painful past that keeps pulling on me. Instead, I'm choosing how to move forward in a way that's going to bring me out at my very best. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to take some work. So let's get to it. All right. And I'm going to share with you what happened with me personally to give you some context. So there was a piece of property that the owner wanted me to have. Still has a mortgage on it, and it is positioned in such a way that its upkeep has direct bearing on my home. So I literally have to take care of it until it is decided where this goes, or else my home could be in jeopardy. Okay. And so I put in thousands to keep it up just over the last few months. So I got news yesterday that I thought was great news, to where the mortgage holders said, yeah, you know what we recognize you as something known as a successor in interest, and we're going to give you the ability to own this property. That's great. Except then the title company that would be handling this transaction is saying, yeah, we think your state laws are going to prohibit this taking place. And I've got a lawyer that's working with them. So here I was all happy. Oh my gosh, this can take place. And now it's like, maybe it won't. The property is going to go into foreclosure, unfortunately. But who's going to keep it up until that is taken care of? Yeah. So, boy, that really destabilized me. That I thought I was going to be able to get it. Now I can't. But the fact that I can't, potentially, the fact that I can't, and yet I'm still going to be responsible for it until someone else can take ownership. Because if I don't, my home could be threatened by it falling apart. Not a good place to be in. So that destabilized me. And it stole my focus of, hey, it's going to be a good day. We're going to move forward. And then something showed up in the mail, very interesting, because there are pieces of mail that evidently I haven't been getting, that they've been forwarded to someone else, and I haven't been getting them. So I got a piece of mail that said, hey, did you know that there is an account that still has your name on it, a checking account? No, I didn't know it. And, oh, it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars overdrawn, because the account that was feeding it to keep it open, well, there's some other adults that emptied out that other account. And because your name's still on this one, you're responsible for all of these charges. Oh my gosh, this is an account that should have been closed down 2 years ago per divorce. It wasn't. I didn't know. Unfortunately, ignorance of the law, or ignorance of what's taking place. Yeah, that's not what people go by. They're going, your name's still on this. And even though you didn't spend any of this money, yeah, you're responsible for making up these charges. You talk about killing my motivation that I'm going to be able to move forward. Luckily, the credit union worked with me and helped me close down the account immediately. But there were still hundreds of charges that had to be rectified. That again, I didn't spend the money. Okay, so it killed my motivation. So I was now dysregulated, emotionally overwhelmed, swamped, because now I'm going back to an imprint. Imprints are things that you've accepted as the truth about life that will then trigger emotions and actions that go along with that truth. And I had an imprint from whenever I was a kid that said, I'm going to be the one to pay the price for other people's mistakes. And I can tell you the memory that's attached to it. My father lost his temper and took it out on me, and I wound up with broken bones. And whenever I was taken to the hospital hours and hours later, because of different appendages turning absolutely black because of where they were broken, I was told to lie and say I fell down the steps. I didn't, but nothing happened to rectify what caused it. And then months later, whenever I started acting out, I skipped school, and my father found out about it, and I was afraid to go home for good reason, what he might do. And then I was actually hauled into court for being a juvenile delinquent and skipping school. And when the judge said, why did you not go home after your father found out you skipped school? I'm like, look in the records. I was afraid he was going to beat me like that again. And I was told, well, if you weren't such a delinquent, he wouldn't have to do those things. I was 13 at the time, and I was put on probation until I was 18 for that. Okay. So that was my imprint of people are going to act very badly, and I am now going to have to be the one to pay the price for it. Now, the challenge is whenever you have an imprint, whether it is avoidance or approach, pain or progress, the identity of who you were when that imprint took place shows up. So we can see this around the holidays. Whenever adults get so excited, oh my gosh, the holidays are almost here. And maybe they do things that might be a little bit more childish, like eating too much because of all the cookies and goodies, and maybe spending too much money because kids can have a hard time understanding finances. They don't have the executive functioning center fully developed. But it can also mean childlike wonder and wanting to enjoy. So there's the law of polarity that says everything is created as a whole. So you can have a side that's immature that simply means underdeveloped. That's it. And so there's a side of you that can be developed. But that's not what got triggered yesterday. The younger me, where I got to pay the price for the mistakes of others. That showed up. But I can't get to resolution of the situation when I'm in that experience from that level of maturity. But she was off and running and wanting to hide. And then the final thing that happened yesterday was that I discovered that there might be some monetary inheritance. Unfortunately, because steps were not taken by the other person. Yeah, state law precedes that and says, yeah, you won't get that inheritance. Whew. I lost hope. Steal, kill, destroy. Steal your focus, kill your motivation, destroy your hope for a better future. Oh my gosh. I was a kid all over again. Getting punched, getting kicked, saying, yeah. And now, how are you going to make this better? Okay. So, whenever we go through an emotional experience, we ask ourselves 3 questions. What does this mean? What does this mean about me? How do I avoid or amplify? And let me tell you, I was an amplification. It's that old adage, don't ask how much worse it can get, because it can always get worse. Yeah. And I also recognized at some point, because all of this happened within a span of 3 hours, going from, oh my gosh, I am a successor in interest, to, no, you're not. You've wasted thousands of dollars. That looks like there's a money pit with no end in sight. And anything that could offset this as far as an inheritance, you've lost out on it. Learned helplessness. You take it personal. There must be something about me that is screwing all of this up. It is permanent. It is always going to be like this. It is pervasive. It's going to affect every area of my life, and it's power over, power under, where the representation internally is that you're small, you're hiding, and the boogie monster is standing over you, uh, uh, doing everything it can to make your life a living hell. Yeah, anything that's been learned can be relearned. So let's talk about stabilization, regulation, functional, and intelligent. And again, I had to fight for it. Okay. So when I say I had to fight for it, think of being on a sailboat, or maybe a kayak or a surfboard, and you get knocked off into the water. Well, if you're not used to pulling yourself out of the water and getting back on that kayak, that sailboat, that raft, whatever it might be, if you are not used to it, the water is going to want to continue to pull you down. And it takes some strength to get into the boat. And sometimes you need others and their strength. So the very first thing, one, stabilization. The way you stabilize yourself is you put things back in order, because right now they're out of order. Something is trying to hold power over you. And it was my imprint from the past. I had to ask myself, what do I value? What beliefs can I rely on? What beliefs am I developing? Okay, the beliefs that I have to be responsible for other people's mistakes? Nope. So that's going to lead us to step 2 in just a moment. How do you regulate? You need to use the intelligence of others. But I'm not going to take financial responsibility for a money pit even further. That was done yesterday. Okay, so I can't go by the imprint of the wounded me that says there's no end to this. No, I had to choose an end by what I value in life and what I want to experience. Okay, so then you have to take action on that value. So whenever I explain to my credit union, oh my gosh, I wasn't even aware that this account was in place. I haven't been getting the notices about it being overdrawn, and they figured out real quick why those notices weren't coming to me, that someone else had intervened conveniently. So in order to maybe make things as painful as possible for me. Okay. So as soon as they saw that, they did everything that they could to reverse payments, stop payments, bless them. And they were able to reduce the hundreds and hundreds of dollars into something more manageable. It still caused me to catch my breath, but it wasn't as bad as what it could be. Okay. So when you decide what you value, and I value growth, but growth with boundaries and rules, because without that, it's cancer and it'll eat you alive. So I had to put boundaries in place. Boundaries bless me, rules restrict the excess of others. And again, we're going to get into step 2 on that. So what did I value? But then I needed to act on those values, because just knowing how you want to move forward based on your brilliance and the brilliance of those around you that can help you without action, it is invalidated in your powerful mind. So you got to reach out and you have to ask for the assistance of others. And for those of us that were isolated and were told that we needed to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and make it happen all on our own, that can be challenging to let other people in and go, this is what's happening and I can't handle it alone. So step 2, this is when we need to get into regulation. When you are dysregulated, you need someone who's already stable, who already has a level of brilliance and intelligence, and you need to ask for their assistance. So I pulled on my team yesterday. I had my mom step up and go, okay, what do we need to do to start having some rules that restrict how other people are taking advantage of this situation? I called on my attorney and said, yeah, what is it that we need to do to stop others from going forward with this? So pulling on those that are around you, not just to hear your story. A lot of times my clients come in and I know that the story they're going to tell me, there's no one else in their life that they can tell this to. It is so painful, and so it has such a grip over them of power that there's no one that can handle the hurt that they've got. But I also know that they can't tell me their story without us figuring out a POA plan of action, their success steps, because we don't want to repeat the story anymore. If this is making sense to you, then go to my website, dawnlandrum.com. We can have a complimentary coaching call where you can tell me your story and I can let you know the steps that you can begin to take so you have power back over it, to where your destiny defines you, not your painful past. And there is also, for the next couple of weeks, a bonus that you can see on the page about working with me. But it's only available the next couple of weeks, because there does need to be urgency, not overwhelm, but urgency for you to break out of that past that has been telling you that you have to focus on it, that your motivation is going to be, how do I keep away from the body blows instead of bringing out yourself with your brilliance and your magnificence, and it's destroying your future. No. We're done with that. Okay. This is the reason why I give you my personal stories, or the stories of the clients that I work with, to show you, yeah, life is messy before it gets magnificent. Life is a bunch of BS before you start blooming and to the beautiful you that you were always supposed to be. So yesterday, I see this as somebody tried to bury me. Yeah. Well, you have to bury seeds. And then when they start to sprout, they have to push past the dirt. And then they come up into a level to where the ultimate goal of a seed is to produce more seeds, to replicate itself. I want to replicate you revealing just how far you can go in life. Okay, so to do that, you got to regulate, you got to get around others, you got to have your team. It's not just to tell stories, but it's actually to be able to move forward on your success steps. 3, functional. To move into being functional, you do need to look at what protection needs to take place before you can move into progress. This is where we look at boundaries and rules. Boundaries bless you, rules restrict, and they restrict others. So when I reached out to my attorney, I'm like, well, yeah, we need to restrict some of these things that are happening. I'm done with this being a money pit. Okay. And so boundaries are all about you. What will you no longer do? So protection, I made a note. I want to make sure I address this. There's a difference between you wanting to give because it's who you are and someone challenging you to give so they can benefit, they can profit off of your pain. An example I came up with was one of my clients just this past Thursday, where someone was saying, you say you're so forgiving, but you won't let this go. Forgiveness, there's a difference between that and someone repenting and earning the right for mutual repair. Got to be careful, because the people that are out there that will use you, will weaponize the best parts of you against you for their benefit. I can forgive someone, but until they've repented, which means to take steps to show that they're willing for something to be different. Yeah, without that, no, we're going to have rules in place that restrict their access. Yeah, but I need boundaries first. And boundaries say, how far will I give? What will I do? How do I keep my bubble of brilliance intact? By the way, that is a hypnosis session I use with my clients to remind them that they have a bubble of brilliance. And as one of my clients said, whenever the huge mosquitoes that are like the size of people show up with their little pokers trying to suck the life right out of her, well, her bubble of brilliance is like Teflon. They slide right off of it and they can no longer get in and get access to her. So you need to have protection before you can have progress. And then after that, the 4th level is intelligence. What you want, what you desire is very valid, but you cannot have it in a way that is going to invalidate you. The first thing that came to mind whenever I was told that the inheritance that I might have might be invalidated because of a law that the other person who wanted to give it to me didn't follow. Okay, well, guess what? That prosperity, that abundance is still mine. I'm claiming it. It just may not come from that area. It'll come from someplace else. But if it's mine, I will have it. Not necessarily from that source, because then I'll be invalidated by saying, well, that's the only way it can show up. And I'm invalidated when I have to pay the price for someone else's success at my expense. I'm invalidated when the pain of the past continues to produce a neural pathway in my brain that just has me spiraling down into situational depression. There are 4 levels that will take you down. And those 4 levels are: there's a loss, and then you get angry, and then you get sad, and then you go into situational depression. What are the 4 levels that'll get you out? Competence. You have to act on a skill set. Confidence, because you're acting to repair. I don't know of anybody who's truly healthy that says, I've got enough self-confidence, because the majority of self-confidence comes from your ability to repair after a risk has gone wrong. I had a lot of risks yesterday, some that I didn't even know I was taking with my name on things that went wrong. My self-confidence comes from my ability to go, I need to repair this. Don't know how. I need to bring in a team to assist me to take me back up to the top. And so that is the confidence that comes about from the skill set of going, okay, I cannot do this on my own. What do I value and who do I need to regulate with? And then from there, you begin to feel outstanding. Now, because I've worked this process, there would be times I would be stuck in a spiraling down into situational depression for weeks. Well, yeah, it was hours. And again, it would have probably have been minutes if I would have been hit with 1 loss. But then there was 2, and then there was 3, all within a short space of time. It's known as spaced repetition, that immerses you into an infection. But you got to say, you know what? I'm not going to be infected. I'm going to be informed. And then I'm going to take actions and I'm going to implement for impact. Because, this ain't how this happens. But you cannot do it on your own, because the aspect of your personality that has been triggered is one that was in a power under position from your past. You need someone to assist you to complete it. It is incomplete. It is immature. You need someone to trigger that seed of brilliance and magnificence that is ready to spring forth, but going, here, let's see what you value. Let's see how to regulate, how you can be functional, and then move into your intelligence. All right? So you go from confidence into outstanding. I've got this. And then something's going to come along that is going to take you into euphoria, and you are going to feel like life can't get any better. And then there's going to be another loss. And you go through this cycle again. It is my desire for you that these cycles, well, the cycle up lasts weeks and months, and when you cycle down, it lasts hours and at the most just a couple of days, because then you bring out who you really are, the revelation knowledge of who you really are, and the destiny that is wanting to pull you forward instead of the painful past that's trying to pull you back down into the water of overwhelm. You can do this. I believe in you. A belief is something that you've accepted as the truth. And so until you can believe in yourself, borrow mine. Blessings on your journey.